Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to a very special episode where I'm going to share with you all of the tools that I love. These are tools that are essential to me that I use every single day when I am knitting and crocheting, and I hope that you'll get some fun ideas and share with me what your essential tools are too. Thank you so much to Knit Companion for sponsoring this video. They have some brand new features for their Android app. You guys know I love the Knit Companion app and use it every single time I have to follow a pattern, but more on that later. So I'm going to be taking you through different kinds of tools in all categories. I'm going to talk about needles and hooks and bags and small notions and large things and just everything. But if there is something that I have left out of this video and you're curious to know, like if I use it or what I would recommend, or if you're seeking out other knitters and crocheters advice, how do you say that grammatically correct? Make sure you leave a comment, ask your question, and I will do my best to answer, or I will source out our amazing community here on YouTube and Instagram and try to find an answer for you. These are really tools that I actually use every single day, and I've only picked my absolute favorite ones. You're just gonna find a single thing in every category. Everything I'm talking about today will be linked in the description box, so if you see something you love, you can go and grab it. All right, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with the first tool. One of the most essential things for me as a knitter is an interchangeable needle set. You will see that this one is not full because I am using some of the needles at the moment. But if you don't have one already and you're a knitter and you knit multiple projects, get one. You're gonna love it. They are quite affordable when you consider the cost of buying separate fixed needles in different cable lengths to the cost of buying one set. You're going to save money here in the long run. So I have the Knit Picks wooden set. I believe, you know what, I can't quite remember what this color is. It's like rainbow. I think maybe it's called rainbow wood interchangeable. I have had this needle set for, I want to say 10 years, honestly. I think I got it when I was in high school and I just had my 10-year high school anniversary or whatever. We didn't have a reunion, so anniversary, and still going strong with this set. It's amazing. It's like a really good price point, so quality, price, like it's all the best here. So interchangeable needles and why they are so great. So in interchangeable needle sets, you're going to get multiple needle tips. This one goes from a 4 to, this is pretty big. Actually, these might be separates that I bought, at least an 11, I think. So many tips for needles. And then it also comes with cords. So instead of them being joined together, you can make the needle size that you need for that moment. The other reason that interchangeable needles are so great is that if you, let's say you're working on a project and you're using size 5, I use that all the time. And now I need to do another project on a size 5. Well, I can't work on them at the exact same time because I don't have 4 hands. So I can actually take the tips off of my other project, slip them onto a new cord, and I can start my other project. You will never be without the needles that you need. I also like it because when I do want to put a project on hold, I can use these little end caps. I keep my like little tools in here, but I knew that would rattle around. You can stick the little end caps on there and keep your stitches from falling off while still getting to use those needles. So I just love interchangeables. There's so many more things that you can do with them. And there's zillions of sets out there. So if you're like, you know what, I like metal, Knit Picks has metal, or you can find another set that you really, really like. But interchangeable needle kit, cannot live without it and would highly recommend. Next up are sock needles. I know I said I wasn't gonna do 2 in the same category, but these are separate, I promise. So with interchangeable kits, you're probably not gonna find one that goes all the way down to like US sizes 3, 2, and 1. And for socks, you are going to need probably a 1 or a 2. I use a 1. And my favorite are these Chai-Gu red lace. Let me tell you why they are so amazing. So when I knit a sock, I use the 32-inch length because I do magic loop. I actually brought my little sock tube over right here so you can just see these cords are amazing. They don't kink up, but they're also easy to bend. So they're really perfect for magic loop and making those small circumference things. So if it's a sock or a sleeve or a mitten, even hats, they are really, really good for that. I'm not usually a fan of metal needles, but for small needles, I really like these. The tip on them is sharp without being, it's pointy without being sharp, I guess I could say. It's not gonna poke a hole in your fingertip. It's slick, but not too slick. It's like just the perfect needle for me. When I put these away, I wind them up, so I like let it kind of curl, usually do it 3 times, and then you can poke your needle tips through, one through the back, one through the front. Okay, I didn't show you that very well. You can store them like this, and when you take them out, they're like ready to go. They're not gonna hold any kinks. So these are amazing. You can get them at your local yarn store a lot of the times, or you can just easily get them on Amazon. These are not going to be in stores like big box stores like Michael's and Joann's. At least I haven't seen them there, but they are not expensive. So if you are new to sock knitting, I would highly recommend the Chaigu Red Lace. We talked about knitting needles, so now we need to talk about crochet. Isn't this mug super cute? I love this mug. Who is it from? Oh, it's from Polly Studios. Not included in the tools, but honestly, these mugs are so amazing. They're beautiful, and you can wash them, put them in the microwave, like they're indestructible. Unless you drop them, don't do that. I've broken one that way. Okay, crochet hooks. The only crochet hook, ooh, I better set this down because that's loud. The only crochet hook that I will use are these Clover Amours. I used to think that they were called Armours. Amour, which means love. I love these clover hooks. The reason that I like them so much is they are more ergonomic, but they don't have a curve in the handle. Instead, they're flat. So wherever you hold and like put your thumb, it is not going to bother you because there's not like a specific groove that it has to go into. For me, these are just so comfortable. I won't crochet with anything else. They even have sizes all the way down to like the tiny, tiny, tiny ones. What do I have? What's the smallest I have in here? I have a B, and I still have like a nice comforting hook. So instead of the handle getting smaller with the needle size, you still have a nice comfortable handle. These are on the pricier end. They're about $8 a piece, but if you buy a set, I would recommend either getting them on Amazon because they usually have them on sale, or taking your coupon, going into Michael's or Joann's and getting that 40% off the set. They are 100% worth it. They are so amazing. I also like the head on these. I can never remember which kind I like, inline or the other kind that I can't even remember what it's called. But if you like boy hooks, I think you're gonna like these. I know there's like a divide in the crochet world. So tell me, are you a boy or are you a Susan Bates kind of a person? Let me know. I'm super interested to hear. But these Clover Amours are amazing. I seriously won't crochet with anything else. I even get them for my students when I'm teaching them how to crochet because I like them that much. All right, we're really not going in any kind of specific order here, so let's talk about stitch markers. I have 3 different kinds of stitch markers that have different functions, and I love them all equally. I keep them right here in these cute little bowls, so let me grab the first one. The first kind of stitch marker that I like to use is just your regular old stitch marker. And these are the just plain nickel plated ones. I like these so much. This set I think is from, oh, now I'm forgetting the name, like Cocoa Knits or something, but they come in 2 sizes, one that's good for like larger needles, and then the one I use most of the time is a little bit tinier, just like that. The reason that I like these so much is that they are completely plain, so they don't like dangle down and interfere with your knitting and get stuck in the stitches and your yarn gets twisted around them. Maybe that's just me, but that happens to me. Also, they are like really, really narrow and flat, so they're not going to make a gap in between your stitches when you put them in here. So I really like these little nickel plated guys. These are my favorite for just general, like put a marker at the beginning of the round, put a marker every 10 stitches kind of a thing. I love these. The other kind of stitch marker that I use all the time are these light bulb stitch markers. I've got a few different colors. I also have them in rainbow, like down here, which I use a little less often, but these are absolutely amazing. So let me show you a close-up of these in case you haven't seen them before. They're pretty much like a safety pin, except without the coil. I think technically they're coilless safety pins, but like knitters have reclaimed them as their own, and crocheters too, because these are great for crochet. So the way that these work, actually they work so many different ways, but you can actually clip them into your knitting or crochet. I like to use these in socks, sleeves, anything I have to count the rows, because I can clip it physically into a stitch and mark that stitch or row, and then I'm able to count from there. They're also big enough that as long as your needles aren't too big, let's say maybe 6 and down, you could just slide them onto the needle itself and it could be a regular stitch marker. So you can use them for progress keeping, counting rows, or a regular stitch marker, and I really, really like these. So if you're gonna have one stitch marker that you have in your like carry around bag, it would be this, because it is multifunctional and you can use it for pretty much anything. The last kind of marker that I like to use is in the biggest bowl, because I'm kind of obsessed with these, and these are progress keepers. I get questions a lot like, why do you use a progress keeper? What is the point? Do you have to have one? And the truth is, you don't have to have a progress keeper, but they make things really, really fun. My favorite kind of progress keepers are polymer clay, which means that they are made from this certain type of clay. A lot of times they are handmade, they take a lot of effort, and therefore they are on the pricier side, maybe $10 to $15 per marker. So these are a really good thing to ask for as a gift or to treat yourself. You know, it's not as much as a ball of yarn, and you can use it for like every project ever. So I really, really like these. My favorite kind of hardware on them is a lever back. So it's almost like an earring, but it opens up really, really nice and wide. So that's going to be great for crocheters. For me, it's great as a knitter. When my nails are really long, they haven't been that long lately, it made it a lot easier to clip into stitches. So what do you use progress keepers for? Well, you can use them for a variety of things. You can use them to actually measure on your knitting and crochet. So if your pattern says to knit 5 inches from a certain point, stick one of these into the fabric of your knitting and carry on, and you can measure from there. Let me pull up another one. This one is from Simply Serving, who is one of my favorites. She makes really intricate, sometimes like kawaii, which just means cute in Japanese. Sometimes those and different stuff. She's great, but there's tons of great makers out there. You can do that, so you can measure like actual measurements, or you can measure progress. So for me, doing a weekly podcast, I like to see where my progress goes from week to week. So I will, clip in one of these every week when I do my podcast, and then the next week I see how far I've gotten. So you don't have to do that like at all if you don't want to, and you don't have to do that. You don't have to be a podcaster to do that. It's just nice to see your progress, especially on those projects that are like, huge, and you feel like you're not making any progress, but hey, you've got a progress keeper in there and you can see that you've actually done more work than you thought. So I think that while not a huge necessity, it is a big boost to my knitting mojo when I get to use a progress keeper. If you follow patterns at all, you know it's essential to have a way to keep track of those patterns. I love using Knit Companion. I've been using it for several months and it is absolutely amazing. I like to do my patterns digitally, and it's really just like super easy to do it, and you can have all your patterns with you all the time and you're not shuffling through papers or trying to prop it up or anything. I usually have my patterns this way. That's really bright. There you go, you can see that. And I have an iPad mini here, which is like the perfect size to throw into a knitting bag, if you're in the market for an iPad. But yeah, I just have it set up here, and on Knit Companion, most of the time I'm gonna be using like the highlight tool. You can see I have my size highlighted in here. Makes it so easy. You don't have to go through like circling stuff. They've also got this little highlight bar hang on one second, I'll be showing you this a little bit better. They have a little highlight bar that you can move across, and you can even set it up to do all these fancy things like talk to you and move your chart on its own, and it's just amazing. I've actually got a whole separate video just reviewing the Knit Companion app that gives you lots of tips and tricks, so I'll make sure to link that. Go check it out if you have not heard of Knit Companion before. But yeah, you can do all kinds of fancy things. My favorite thing about it is that just 3 weeks ago, my old iPad, my other iPad, it was brand new, I just got it, it stopped working. And so I couldn't get the screen to turn on, nothing. I go into the Apple store, they end up giving me a new iPad, all my apps come back, and guess what? I was in the middle of a pattern, this one actually, Weekender Light, and I opened up the Knit Companion app and all of my notes and highlights were still there. That does not happen with paper. When you lose the paper, it is gone. So that's one of my new favorite features that I, didn't have the chance to test out yet, and it totally works and it is amazing. So Knit Companion is super, super cool. Again, check out that video because I really do go into detail. But what's exciting is they now have made some new features for Android users. That was one of the things before that was not quite caught up to the iOS system. So now you can work with any pattern in Knit Companion. I like to just pull mine straight from Ravelry, but you can also, pull any PDF using Dropbox or another way. You will never lose your spot with Knit Companion because just like I was sharing, it is connected across devices. So even if you're let's say, out and about and you didn't bring your iPad or your Android tablet, you can just pull it up on your phone and you got your pattern with you. You can back up and sync your project in between devices. So again, you can have it with you wherever you go. There's also this really cool feature called an inverted marker. It actually dims the rest of the pattern except for the row that you're on, which can kind of help with eye strain and focus so you don't have to be looking back and forth so much. You can also keep keys and abbreviations right next to where you are in the pattern. A lot of times you have to flip back and forth between pages, or if you're doing something digitally, slide back and forth. With Knit Companion, you can grab that key, stick it in right where you need it, which makes it really, really nice. Something else that I need to try, I'm gonna try it, is you can highlight your size and then white out the other sizes. So I don't know about you, but I've definitely made that mistake before, where even though I've circled, underlined, highlighted my size, I still my eyes look to something else and I knit the wrong number of inches. So yeah, don't do that anymore. You can also keep count while you keep track. So there's a variety of counter options. Again, there's some really fancy methods, or you can do like me where you just kind of write on the top of it, or you can set it up. One of my favorite things is the voice activated feature. So you can take a little time, set up that page, and then you can just have it sitting next to you and you can say next row and it will move right on down. You don't even have to take your hands off of your needles. So all of those features are now available on both Android and iOS, which is absolutely amazing. We are actually going to be doing a giveaway over on Instagram this week. We are giving away an iPad. That is going to be announced tomorrow, Wednesday. What is the date on that? November 11th, I think. So make sure you're following Knit Companion on Instagram so that you can enter to win that iPad. The giveaway is going to be going Wednesday through Friday. So if you're watching this a couple days later, no worries, head over there, make sure to enter because you're definitely going to want to use Knit Companion. And if you have not heard of it before and want to download it, check out the link down below. I'm going to have all the details, their website where you can go get tutorials, and of course my other video talking about Knit Companion. Let's talk about winders. So once you really get into knitting and crochet, you're probably going to find yourself drawn towards hand-dyed yarn. And then you're going to come home with these hanks of yarn and you're like, what do I do? Because If you're not going to work on something right away, you really shouldn't get it wound at the yarn store into a cake, because it's much easier, and not to mention prettier, if that matters to you, to have your yarn in a hank. It's easier on the yarn, it doesn't stretch it out as much. So you're gonna need to wind at home. And there are lots of really affordable options out there for yarn winders. I had a plastic one that I used for years and it was totally fine. But recently, well, maybe a year ago, I have upgraded and I could not recommend this more. This is a jumbo maple ball winder from Fiber Artist Supply Co. It is a beautiful piece of wood. This company is a small business and they are really attentive. They will answer your questions. They will help you. These machines are made to last. So this is the jumbo maple ball winder. You put it together. It comes like mostly assembled and it's really easy to put together. Then you just I'll show you my Swift in just a second. You feed your yarn through here and then you wind, and it's like listen, quiet. It's amazing. It's got little rubber feet, so what I usually do is sit on the floor and I wind. You don't have to do that. You could set it on a table. It also comes with a clamp. You can see there's some screws right there. Oh, there you go. With this, you can wind much larger balls of yarn. It also makes them much more even, and it is just so worth it. If anything happens to this, instead of buying a new one, you're gonna call the company, get the part replaced or whatever you need to do. This is an investment for sure for like the rest of your knitting career. It's absolutely amazing. A perfect Christmas gift if you ask me. Now, when you're winding your yarn, you have to have something to put it on. So you're gonna want to get a Swift. And the same company that has the ball winder, that is where I got my Swift from. All right, so it's hard to get into the frame, but this is my windmill Swift. It doesn't actually, it doesn't work like this. It goes flat on the table. Maybe I'll put something in here so that I can show you a little bit better. This one is also from Fiber Artist Supply Co. Let me show you here on the back. This is actually the first thing that I got from them. I bought it off of Etsy many years ago. They don't even make them like this anymore. Instead of these crossbars, they actually have a base with a ball bearing. So it's gonna be much, this is actually fine. I have no interest in replacing this one. It works amazing. It's collapsible, I love it. But they do have the ball bearing base, so I'm guessing it's even smoother as it rotates around, and it's like perfect. So what's cool about it is you've got these pegs here, so no matter how big the hank of yarn is, you can move the little dowels and you can like adjust it so that it's the right like circumference, I guess, for your hank of yarn. And then again, this just sits flat on a surface or on the floor. You can wind with your winder, totally worth the investment. These are not as expensive as the winders, so if you're okay winding by hand, you might want to get the Swift first. You can wind by hand and then you can later invest in the ball winder, but both are so great and I would highly recommend them. Okay, let's talk tiny tools and notions. So when you're weaving in ends, which is like so not my favorite thing to do, if you like to weave in ends, let me know, because that's kind of crazy to me, but you're gonna want the right tools. And my favorite tapestry needle are these Chibis by Clover. You can get them on, I think you can get them on Amazon, but I always find them in yarn stores. They're going to be these metal curved knitting needles, and why I really like this curve is it makes it a lot easier to like get into stitches and scoop underneath them. There's two sizes, a little bit of a thicker one and a really thin one, which is great for sock yarn. I use this one the most, but they are so great. I like the metal because it's not it makes it easier to split stitches on purpose when you're trying to get those ends woven in, and it's not like catching on the yarn or anything. That being said, there's also a plastic one that I do recommend. This is really great for projects where you have zillions of ends and it doesn't matter as much if you get them woven in perfectly. It's really good for crochet when you can just kind of like stuff your ends like in between stitches and they're sandwiched in there and you can't really see them. These are the Susan Bates finishing needles. Again, you can get them on like Amazon or a big craft store. This is a jumbo one, but these are crazy. So they have a giant eye. So this is why they're so good for when you're weaving in tons of ends, because a lot of times weaving in ends like is not fun, but what's really not fun is threading them, and this makes it so simple. So you just throw the end through there and then you can weave in away. I don't really ever use that big one. Most of the time I'm going to be using this little tiny baby one. I think it comes with 5 or 6 in the set. So you just toss it in there and weave it in. When I do my granny squares for Advent, so I'll do a different granny square every single day in the month of December. I'm weaving in those ends every single day. I will use this and just, you know, put it into that little crochet granny square corner. It makes it super, super fast. So those are my favorite tools for when you need to do your least favorite task, weaving in ends. So we have our tools, we know how to wind our yarn, we have all the things that we need except for something to carry them in. So let's talk about bags. My absolute favorite bag is these, and this is my pattern, but I invented this for a specific reason. This is the float tote, and it is the #1 reason why I feel like I can take my color work, large projects with multiple skeins with me anywhere that I go. So this is a crochet pattern that is available on my Ravelry and Etsy shops, but it's basically like a very simple tote bag. Honestly, you can make it in any color combination that you want, but I kind of like the color blocking. But the main feature of this bag is that it has inside of it these little cups. Hang on, one came out of place here. Get back in there. Okay, there we go. So it comes in multiple sizes. This is the largest one with 5 cups, so 5 skeins. There's also a 3 skein size, a 2 skein size, and a 1 skein size. So no matter how big your project is, you can fit it in here. So this is actually for my slipstravaganza. That's why there's 5 in there. And then you can just take the project here and lay it on top and roll it up, and you are good to go. No more tangling of yarn. I have my 2 skein one, which is just like an oval space. It's very, very small. An oval shape. I've got this set up because I have a sweater where I'm using 2 skeins of yarn, and so I'm going to be taking it on the go with me here tonight. I'm just going to put the 2 balls of yarn in there. They don't even have to be cakes, they can be balls. These are actually like skeins like this. I'm just going to pop them in there. It doesn't hold it quite as well, but it still does the same thing and keeps them separate, whereas in the drawstring bag that they're in right now, they're like tangling with each other. Not fun. Anyway, pop them in there, roll that up, and you are good to go. And then I like it too because when I get to where I'm going tonight, I will roll it back down and then it can just sit there. My yarn's not spilling out over the floor or coming out of the bag, and it truly just, it's the best. So I made those, I designed them with a purpose, and they totally meet that functionality. So honestly, those are the ones that I end up using the very most. All right, if there are any products that I did not talk about, any categories that you want to hear about, make sure to let me know down in the comments and I will answer. And I'm sure we're gonna have other people that will be able to help us out and get you an amazing product, a recommendation for that. Thanks again to Knit Companion for sponsoring this video. Go check out Knit Companion through the link, and don't forget to enter that giveaway to win an iPad. Everything that I talked about today is linked down below so that you can go shop, maybe send it to somebody and ask for it for Christmas so that you are all set with your knitting and crochet for 2021. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!